Hey, guess what? It's time for Making Kayfabe with your hosts, Bryce and Dylan.
Right, fuck everything. Welcome to Making Kayfabe. This is the podcast where we analyse a specific part of wrestling history and then take a stab at rewriting it in a way that is tolerable. My name is Bryce and I'm here once again with my good friend Dylan, and this is our third episode spectacular. Dylan, how are you? And are you excited?
I'm very good. I won £2 on a scratch card earlier, so I am riding high on emotions right now. And yes, I'm very excited. I can't wait to hear what you have planned, because I know that you have a vested interest in this storyline, and I really want to hear how you kind of twist it and make it interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. You say £2 on a scratch card?
Yeah, guess
That's
how much
like the max prize.
Guess how much the scratch card cost?
£1.
£2.
You broke even.
Breaking even. So I'm like, that's okay. That counts as a win. That's okay.
Did you know that most of the world's podcasts don't actually make more than 2 episodes?
Huh. So we're doing pretty well.
We're already achieving.
Oh, damn.
Because there's tens of thousands of millions of podcasts out there, but most people will give up after 2 episodes. But hey, here we are.
We're dedicated. We
Episode 3, baby.
We're so excited to bring you guys all of our ideas, which are totally accurate and correct.
And extremely correct. But yes. I've got a doozy for you today. Do you want some background?
Yes, please.
I've got a meaty bit of background for you. So
Ooh.
This story is actually a story which played a big part in inspiring the Making Kayfabe podcast. So I can't remember for the life of me what issue it was, but did you ever read Power Slam magazine?
No.
Did you get that in Ireland?
I don't remember, but the only one I would read sometimes was the old WWF official magazine. I never really read any other, because I was 100% WWF, so any other wrestling didn't exist.
Those were great. Yeah, I remember them and split it into Raw and SmackDown magazines as well. I remember that back in the day. Nice. I used to get myself down to R.S. McCall's when I was 12, 13 years old, and I would purchase Power Slam magazine. I would purchase either Raw or SmackDown, and I would purchase what was the other one? The Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Is that one of them?
I think so. Yeah.
I think the PWI 500, but yeah, Power Slam was a great magazine. It was edited by a guy called Finn Martin, who actually I was hanging out with last year at Wrestling MediaCon. But yeah, friendly chap. I think the best way to put Finn Martin into context is he's basically the British Dave Meltzer, proper encyclopedia of wrestling, and he knows all the kind of inside shit. And yeah, he was basically my introduction to other companies of wrestling and just the backstage kind of lingo and stuff like that. And he wrote really good articles, and he's got a lot of writers for him, and there's a really cool section. But in Power Slam magazine, like a lot of magazines, you have the fan mail section where fans get to message in and write whatever they wanted. There was one short entry from a few years ago about Eugene Dinsmore, who touched on what I'm going to touch on now and hopefully flesh out a little bit. So do you remember the Eugene character?
Yes, I do. That kind of came in around about the time when I was starting to fade out of wrestling for a little bit. Right. So I don't know if that was
part of related? Yeah.
It could easily be. Because I remember watching it and going, this is not the wrestling I remember watching. This isn't quite as exciting as the Attitude Era. This has taken a strange turn, which I did not expect.
Do you have it? What's your kind of overall opinion? What's your stance on the Eugene character?
I am just confusion. I don't know why somebody, and this is an opinion shared by many wrestling fans, but I don't know why you would take a guy like Nick Dinsmore and go, boy, have I got the gimmick for you. You know what I mean? That's a and to his credit, he did it well because he's good at what he does.
Sure.
But it was just such a weird gimmick I find it hard to buy into. And I imagine some other people probably find it hard to buy into as well. So I was not a big fan.
So yeah, believe it or not, as a 12-year-old kid, so I was 12 in 2004 when Eugene was kind of doing.
Don't give away what age you are.
I was 24 in 2004. 24 or 12, one of the two.
Yeah.
You decide. Yeah. But yeah, when in 2004, Eugene was legitimately one of my favorite wrestlers. I was still a kid. I found him entertaining. I at that age, I didn't really understand the controversy around him, and I didn't know the kind of what he was meant to be or anything like that. I was just a dumb kid, and to be honest, I don't think it can be denied that he was over. So some of the Raw shows I was watching in the WWE Network to like catch up, Eugene got a fucking huge reaction whenever he appeared. He was the most over man in the company at one point, I'm pretty sure, which is really weird to think of considering he's barely mentioned these days. So you touched on it there, like Nick Dinsmore. He was a great wrestler, stuck in a gimmick with a very limited shelf life. At one time, Nick Dinsmore was actually seen, as a future top technical wrestler of WWE. He was a smooth grappler, exceptional arsenal of moves, and people saw a lot of promise in him. Like, I've been watching some YouTube clips to kind of catch myself up in Eugene and try and remind myself all about him. And there's an interview with Jim Cornette. But Jim Cornette, so he actually is nice about this whole thing. He calls he calls Nick Dinsmore the standout guy of OVW on the YouTube U-Shoot series. He talks about how he would, in 2003 or 2002 or whatever, he talks about how he'd do anything to get Dinsmore signed by the WWE. Bearing in mind, he pretty much ran OVW at the time, which was OVW was Ohio Valley Wrestling. It was one of the kind of developmental territories for WWE, and it's where guys like Randy Orton and Cena and Batista and all these guys came from. So Jim Cornette, in an effort to kind of get Nick Dinsmore's name out there, he brought Chris Benoit down to the territory solely to wrestle Nick Dinsmore. And they had a 20-minute match without a finish. Believe it or not, Rico Constantino interfered when it looks like Nick had Benoit beat. But the match tore the house down, and it's available on YouTube if you ever want to go and look at it in all 144 pixels. But he also like put him in a program with Doug Basham, who was like OVW's top guy at that point. And apparently Cornette was told that Nick Dinsmore was too plain to be signed by WWE. He didn't have a personality or a gimmick. He was just a wrestler. One time in the same interview, WWE apparently asked Cornette to rate to rate number 1 to 20 on who should be called up to the main roster. He had Dinsmore at number 1. And this is what Jim Cornette says, but WWE, instead of going for number 1, went with 17, 18, and 19, which was Orlando Jordan, Mark Jindrak, and in Cornette's words, who the fuck else, who knows? He says that the Eugene character ended Nick Dinsmore's career because everyone will look at Eugene, look at him as Eugene, and nobody ever wants that in their promotion if they want to be serious, which, kind of spot on, I suppose. I think the thing about Benoit is relevant as well because Nick Dinsmore genuinely is a fantastic technical wrestler. His nickname in OVW was Mr. Wrestling. I watched a great match between him and Rob Conway, which is in better quality than the Benoit match. The guy could go. Cornette mentions that Dinsmore could have easily been the next Benoit in the same interview, but instead they gave him a career-killing gimmick, as they've done with so many other guys. So
as opposed to a people-killing gimmick like Benoit had. Am I right, guys? Can we, as enough time passed, can we joke about it now?
So I think it's fair to say that Eugene, he had a very limited shelf life, basically. But I think that Nick Dinsmore could have gone a long way in wrestling, which, as luck would have it, this is what the episode's all about. So shall we dive into some Making Kayfabe, my friend?
Hells yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, I'm going to do a brief catch-up of the character, because this story is going to start on July 5th, 2004, which is 2 months into Eugene being an on-screen character. So here's how we got to this stage. So Eugene debuted on the April 5th, 2004 edition of Raw. William Regal, fucking hero, is given the job of managing the dear boy by Eugene's kayfabe uncle, Eric Bischoff. Regal is less than impressed with the role he's been given. Over the next couple of weeks, we see William Regal training Eugene to be a good wrestler in kind of Rocky-style vignettes. In his first scheduled match, he defeats Rob Conway on the May 10th edition of Raw in just over 3 minutes. He then starts a feud with Jonathan Coachman, who is trying to get Eugene banished from WWE. During a segment on the 17th of May edition of Raw, Coachman tells Eugene to go home. He's basically trying to get rid of him. And as Eugene's walking up the ramp, he's crying. The fans are booing Coachman and calling him an asshole. Do you remember who comes out to kind of save the day?
Triple H?
No, The Rock.
Oh.
The Rock makes a special guest appearance to stand alongside Eugene. He was very rarely in WWE at that point because he retired in 2000. Technically retired in 2003. His last match was against Stone Cold at that WrestleMania 19, I think it was. And
that's singles match, right?
Yeah, totally. And he didn't really do much after that, as far as I'm aware. So this was like a special one-off appearance. So The Rock's music hits and just everyone goes absolutely crazy. The Rock marches Eugene down to the ring and he says to Eugene, "Who's your boy standing in the middle of the ring?" Eugene replies, "The Rock." "Who's the people's champ?" The Rock asks, to which Eugene responds, "The Rock." And then Rock asks, "And who is your favorite wrestler of all time?" And do you remember who Eugene says?
Triple H?
Yeah, it says Triple H.
Does he?
You got it right the second time. Like just answer Triple H to everything I ask you from now on. Like,
Fine to be right. Yeah,
it's going to be right at some point. But yeah, Triple H. He says Triple H is his favorite wrestler, which gets a kind of a surprise pop, basically. But you know, we'll get to that soon. The feud ends with Eugene defeating Jonathan Coachman at Bad Blood 2004. It's worth noting at this point that the fans were well and truly behind the sympathetic character. They loved Eugene and cheer him every time he's in front of them. Even his manager William Regal, who kind of hated him at the start and was just not liking hanging around with Eugene. He's starting to find a soft spot in his old villain hearts for the guy. He's bringing out the human in our boy Willie Regal. Anyway, this leads us nicely into the July 5th Raw. So July 5th, 2004. It emanates from Winnipeg, you idiot, Canada. Eugene is the interim general manager. So he starts the show by saying, "My Uncle Eric couldn't be here tonight, but he left me in charge." So Eric Bischoff isn't there. He leaves Eugene in charge, his nephew Eugene, in charge of the show. In Eugene's first act as interim general manager for the night, can you guess what he does?
Mix a match against Triple H.
No. But
No.
I'll let you guess again, because I bet you... What kind of match do you think he books? I bet you'll get it first time.
Title match. Cage match.
Incorrect. He books a musical chairs match between Jerry Lawler, Ric Flair, Stacey Keebler, Tyson Tomko, Chris Jericho, Tajiri, and Jonathan Coachman. Honestly, it's the most hilarious thing. You need to see it. Do you not remember this?
No, I do not remember this at all.
It's fucking hilarious. It's so good. Like it's like they got like chairs set out in the ring, so like back to back chairs, like maybe five chairs each or something. And they play the Pop Goes the Weasel music, and everyone in the ring's like walking around the chairs. And when the music stops, you have to always sit down in the chairs, which is the rules of musical chairs. But halfway through, Tajiri is eliminated, so he just like spits the green mist at Jonathan Coachman, who spends the next round stumbling around the ring blind, and it's an integral part of wrestling history, let me tell you. You need to watch it, man. So good. Anyway, Jericho wins. If you're wondering, he basically smacks Tomko with one of the chairs and sits down to win the championship opportunity.
A well-deserved win, I think. One of the highlights of his career, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, as we're speaking now, he just won the AEW. He's the first ever AEW champion. But I mean, we know for sure what his real accomplishment was.
Like when they interview him, they're like, "What do you think about being the All Elite Wrestling Champion?" He's like, "Well, you know what? It's probably the second best thing that ever happened to me."
My second most prestigious accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because he can't be the only AEW world champion. He's going to lose that belt at some point, but I guarantee he will be the only musical chairs winner in Raw history.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So there you go. So
hopefully he's the only one who wins.
Fingers crossed, unless we get a surprise return of Eugene. But so heads up, our good friend Triple H is a huge part of the story. You'll see why soon. So later in the night, we see his first interaction with Triple H, which takes place on a bouncy castle in the backstage area. So using his influence as Eugene's favourite wrestler, Triple H convinces the interim general manager to book a match pitting Edge and Chris Benoit versus Triple H, Ric Flair, and Eugene himself. And he says to Ric Flair, "Trust me, Rick, when this is over, everyone's going to see my vision." It's worth noting here that Triple H has a match against World Heavyweight Champion Chris Benoit coming up in 6 days at Vengeance. So later in the night, Triple H suckers Eugene up, saying that he's done a great job as general manager. Now, it's worth noting that the storyline here seemingly is that Triple H is trying to get Eugene on his side because Eugene's a great tool to have in Triple H's quest to win back the World Heavyweight title, which is still held by Benoit. So he's undefeated at this point. No, he's won a lot of matches. He's on a roll. He's very popular, and Triple H is basically trying to take advantage of that, it seems, at this point. So
that doesn't sound like Triple H.
Right, the Triple H? Is this the same Triple H we're talking about? Stand-up
guy Triple H, nicest man in the room.
Babyface.
Babyface Triple H, yeah.
Especially 2004. Referencing past events, so things that happened previously, Triple H coaxes Eugene. He's like, "Do you remember when Edge said he wanted to take down Evolution? He meant you, because you're a part of Evolution now. And you know who's even worse? Chris Benoit. Remember when he hit you in the head with a steel chair? It hurt, didn't it?" So he's trying to mold Eugene into his own personal monster. He says that Benoit and Edge are everybody who's ever picked on you, hurt you, humiliated you, laughed at you. So they do the match, and the match ends with a ref bump. Triple H grabs the chair, Benoit's fighting back. Eugene then grabs the chair, and as Eugene is about to hit Benoit manages to talk him out of it. So conflicted, Eugene exits the ring. Triple H pulls Benoit into the pedigree position. Benoit reverses and locks in the sharpshooter. So they're in Canada, so the Canada special. Where Eugene enters the ring and whacks Benoit in the back of the chair. Triple H pedigrees Benoit 1, 2, 3. Flair, Triple H, they celebrate with Eugene to end the show, where Eugene is clearly conflicted over what he's just done. So he's mortified that he's just attacked Benoit with a chair because he never wanted to do that, and that very much sets the tone for the storyline. So takes us on to Vengeance 2004, July 11th. This features Benoit defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Triple H. So earlier in the show, Triple H again tries to manipulate Eugene into hating Chris Benoit, again reminding him that Benoit smashed him in the head of a steel chair. He calls Benoit a liar. He promises Eugene that they together will put an end to Chris Benoit. Evolution is your friend, not Chris Benoit. Main event time. So after a tug of war, with Chris Benoit over a steel chair, Eugene accidentally smacks Triple H square in the forehead with a foreign object, leading to a Benoit victory via roll-up, weirdly. Triple H gets hit by a chair and Benoit rolls him up for a victory, which is fucking weird. The match went 29 minutes and 6 seconds, believe it or not. It's a hugely lengthy match for any era of WWE. Brian Alvarez of F4W Online wrote at the time, "The Hunter Benoit match was really a backdrop for the continuation of the Eugene storyline, so in that sense, it was a disappointment." He suggests that WWE did a bad job with the Vengeance main event, as all it really achieved was setting up Raw the next night. And in fact, sorry, I've got a quick sidebar. Before I forget this little kind of tidbit, did you know that Eugene, I found this out in my research, did you know that Eugene was based on a real wrestling fan?
No.
I saw this tweet. It's a true story. So he's based on a guy called Eugene Palermo, who was a huge wrestling fan with Down syndrome, who was the son of a referee, Bucky Palermo, I think his name was. So during the 90s, he was always in attendance in, I think, Pittsburgh WWE shows. Bucky used to take his son backstage to events so he could meet the wrestlers. You know, he's a massive fan. And there's a photograph I found of the real Eugene walking Owen Hart to the ring in the mid-90s.
Huh.
Yeah, true story. So
That's
his name was Eugene.
Get that photo, put it on the show.
Yeah, totally. I'll stick it on the Twitter actually. Yeah, it's a really cool thing. It's cool to see that is literally who he is based on, because that boy's name was Eugene, and obviously Eugene is the character. So, yeah, cool little fun fact.
That is good. I like that. That's good.
But back to the story. So,
Hey.
July 12th, the show opens with Evolution fuming backstage after last night. Nobody touches Eugene until I do, Hunter says. Eugene
Oh, that's disgusting.
If you know what I mean. Hunter says, fucking hell. Eugene cost me the World Heavyweight Championship. Nobody lost more than I did. When Eugene walked through that door, you all follow my lead. Eugene enters the Evolution locker room, apologising for his actions at Vengeance. Don't worry, Eugene. Everyone makes mistakes. We're not mad. Triple H reassures Dinsmore. Triple H says that Eric Bischoff is very mad at him, though, and that he better go and see him right away. Eugene apologises again before he leaves, and as soon as the door shuts, Evolution are again furious, demanding an answer to why they had to follow Triple H's lead when they could have just taken Eugene out right there. Tripp sets up with a great cliffhanger. He says, when you hear what Uncle Eric tells him, trust me, you'll all understand. So a few minutes passing the show, and Eugene visits his uncle Eric Bischoff, and Bischoff says, Eugene, you made an honest mistake. I couldn't be more proud of you. Uncle Eric was so proud that he books Eugene in a match for the World Heavyweight Championship against Chris Benoit.
Ooh.
That night. So we cut to William Regal later in the show confronting Chris Benoit in the back. So at this point, Sir William Regal has a soft spot for Eugene, obviously. He's very fond of the boy. He's very protective of him. So he says to Benoit that he didn't care what Benoit thought of him, but he did care what he thought about Eugene. He knows that Evolution and Eric Bischoff are up to no good, and that Triple H has got on the side of Eugene's mind. He doesn't want anything bad to happen to Eugene. Regal wanted to know what Chris Benoit planned on doing to Eugene, and the Crippler replies saying that he'd do whatever it took to win the belt. And before the main event, Benoit meets with Eugene and says he just wants a wrestling match. No steel chairs, no brass knuckles or anything like that. Just a wrestling match. So then we have it. We have Eugene versus Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship. 8 minutes into the match, that music hits. Evolution is a mystery. And Evolution come in to interfere. So Triple H, Ric Flair, Randy Orton and Batista, they enter the ring, and Triple H, he decks Eugene. The group start beating the holy hell out of both Benoit and Eugene, and it's one hell of a beatdown. Like, William Regal comes out to save Eugene. He's laying heavy lefts and rights into Randy Orton before Batista attacks him from behind. Eugene gets an RKO, a Batista bomb, and then he gets busted wide open, and then gets the pedigree to wrap things up. So Eugene does like a massive blade job. He's got like the Crimson Mask as a result of being beaten up by his favorite wrestler and his posse. And that's how the show ends. He's got the shit kicked out of my Evolution.
A poor guy.
Poor guy. He's not the first and he's not the last. So July 19th, we open the show with clips of Evolution basically murdering Eugene last week. Triple H he comes out on his own and cuts a promo on Eugene. He speculates that Eugene was probably at home or on the couch this week watching Raw with his mum. And he also has something special to say to him. He says, Eugene, I hate you. I was never your friend. I don't like you. Evolution doesn't like you. You're never part of Evolution. Evolution hates you, Eugene. I hate you, Eugene. Everyone hates you, Eugene. What a fucking bastard, eh?
I mean, he's really letting it on thick.
He's been really mean, like too mean, I think. But yeah,
it seems a little bit. That's overkill, isn't it?
Poor Eugene. Yeah. That's not even it, though. Triple H also wears some footage on the Titantron from last week of Eugene getting stretchered out after the beating. And the footage shows William Regal literally shedding tears as he watches Eugene get taken out the rank by medical personnel. Like, fucking hell, man. You know this, but William Regal is so good. He's literally crying he's found himself crying on screen, and like you can tell the emotion. Like, he feels so bad to the boy, and yeah, the best is still to come from him, my friend, from William Regal. But yeah, Eric Bischoff comes out and, having spoken to his sister, confirms that his nephew Eugene will never be on Raw again. And remember that'll be important later. Bischoff announces that next week on Raw, Chris Benoit is going to defend his title against Triple H in a 60-minute Iron Man match. Ooh. And then William Regal comes out and he walks down to the ring and says, Eugene, I hope you're watching, dear boy, because this is for you. Regal beats up Triple H, kicking him out of the ring and following him, landing lefts and rights, smashing his face into the steps. Regal basically goes berserk until security come out to stop him. I fucking love William Regal. He is brilliant. And yeah, there's more to come from him very soon. But on the July 26th edition of Raw, there wasn't really much mentioned in regards to Eugene until the very end, where Triple H had the 60-minute Iron Man match with Chris Benoit. So during the Iron Man match, Eugene interfered with 3 minutes and 25 seconds to spare. The referee down and Evolution attacking Benoit, and I shit you not, Eugene was gone for 1 week, and he returned to the biggest pop I've ever heard, like gigantic pop. Like you can't. It's like The Rock coming back, or it's like, a pop you get for Hulk Hogan coming back, or something like that. It was huge. It's a massive pop, and the crowd.
I have to hear this because for you to say that it's the biggest pop you've ever heard, I gotta hear this pop, man. I gotta look this up.
Look it up. July 26th Raw. I shit you not. Like, make sure to watch it after the musical chairs match, of course.
Of course.
It goes without saying, but. Yeah, the crowd's chanting his name. They're going absolutely crazy for him. He single-handedly takes out Evolution and even takes out his uncle Eric Bischoff, and he ends Triple H with a fucking brutal chair shot to the head. Triple H gets like half a hand up to block it. It's like back in the day where headshots were fine, before all of the research was done and realised that being hit in the head by a metal object is actually quite bad for you. But yeah, who knew? But yeah, Benoit covers Triple H and retains the World Heavyweight Championship. August 2nd Raw. Triple H opens the show and vents about Eugene screwing up his chances to win his 9th World Championship. He starts screaming, Eugene, 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 over and over again, daring him to come out. And then William Regal shows up again, and it's that promo.
Oh, that promo? See, we know exactly what promo this is, because we have discussed this promo at length for years.
It is such a good promo.
We will like routinely, like every so often go, hey, remember this? And just like post it to each other. I'm like, ah.
And just like, honestly, it's bloody brilliant. Just, it is the best promo of William Regal's career, easily. Being realistic here, let's be real. You don't have to go look up the musical chairs thing, but it would really benefit you to go and check out this promo by William Regal. Trust us when we say this. It's incredible. It's worth listening to. Goosebumps. Yes. Honestly, when I was watching this, I've got goosebumps on my arms just watching, because it's so good. But so yeah, it's amazing. But he comes out and he's when Triple H is going crazy in the ring, Regal comes out and he's like, dear, 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 someone has lost their temper, haven't they? He drops the bomb that Eugene isn't here this week and goes on and cuts this promo. What kind of a man do you think would let Eugene into the building last week? What kind of a diabolical villain do you think would tell Eugene to get involved in your match? It was me, Sunshine. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps now just even thinking about it. It's that good a promo. It is just... I mean,
it's a beautiful thing, man. If you guys haven't seen it already, go out of your way to look it up,
It's incredible. It's incredible. But he cuts the promo and he challenges Triple H to it. August 2nd Raw, by the way, whoever wants to look up. August 2nd, 2004, William Regal promo. It's on YouTube somewhere. But he challenges Triple H to a match, which later in the night technically lasts about 10 seconds as Triple H decks William Regal with a set of brass knuckles, leading to a disqualification. Regal gets...
He regaled William Regal.
He out-regaled William Regal.
Unbelievable.
Motherfucker.
Have you seen that, by the way? It's my favorite. That's my favorite Regal thing. It's on YouTube. This is a sidebar. I'm sorry.
That's
but
right.
it's titled like the greatest match in WWF history. And it's like William Regal comes down and like right before the bell, like he just walks into the ring, punches the guy in the face with the brass knucks, and then he's like, ring the bell. The referee rings the bell and he pins him, and then just his music plays again and he walks away. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Do you remember who it was?
Oh, I don't. I really don't. But it's really funny.
I've got something similar to that. Do you remember the one where William Regal, I think it's a match against Big Show, and like, so he's standing face to face with Big Show, and he decks Big Show with the brass knuckles, and Big Show is knocked out. He falls back against the ropes. So Big Show falls back against the ropes, and then he bounces off the ropes, falls forward, and lands in William Regal. And the referee's counts 1, 2, 3. Regal can't kick out because he's got 500 pounds of Big Show on top of him because he's knocked him out.
That's great.
I need to. I'll find that and send it to you and put it on the Twitter. But
we'll
that's
put on Twitter too. Make sure you check out our Twitter page to get all of this premium content.
Yeah, this is now a William Regal podcast. He's taking over.
What time? The guy deserves his own podcast, you know.
He does. One of us will do William Regal very soon, I'm pretty sure. He deserves it. But yeah, so Regal gets busted open by the brass knuckles, and it leads to Triple H going to grab a sledgehammer. H brings the sledgehammer into the ring as Regal crawls, blood pouring from his forehead towards the brass knuckles. But unfortunately, as soon as he gets his hand on them, Triple H strikes him with a sledgehammer. Triple H beats the shit out of Regal. Regal sells it like absolute death. His blood all over the ring canvas. He gets stretchered out, but when he's getting stretchered out, Triple H is screaming into his face. He says, "You tell Eugene this is what he's got coming." Triple H then flips the stretcher that William Regal is strapped to, so with William Regal on it. So he basically face plants William Regal with a stretcher on top of him. But later in the show, Eric Bischoff asked Triple H to do the same thing to his nephew Eugene, booking him in a match for SummerSlam 2004. He's a shit uncle, isn't he?
That's one way to put it.
August 9th Raw, the final Raw before SummerSlam. We see Eugene and William Regal in a hotel room. So Regal's heavily bruised and battered from the week before. Eugene tries to convince Regal for them to go to the arena for Raw, but Regal rejects, saying that they'll just get ambushed by Evolution. Regal leaves the room, and Eugene immediately disobeys and heads for the arena. When Eugene gets to the arena, he heads to the ring and calls out Triple H. Hunter doesn't appear in the ring, but he does appear in the Titantron. They exchange words before Triple H reveals why he is not in the arena, and that's because he is in Eugene and William Regal's hotel room. Uh-oh. He's got poor William Regal tied up, who then takes another beating from the game, which Eugene can do nothing about, so he kicks the shit out of him again. Poor guy. And he says, "At SummerSlam, I'll put you out of business myself for good." Eugene freaks out and runs to the back. The main event for the show was supposed to be Eugene and Chris Benoit versus Triple H and Randy Orton, but Eugene had gone back to the hotel room to check on William Regal, seemingly, so it ended up a handicap match for Benoit against Hunter and Orton. However, it's not long before Eugene comes back to another huge pop. He spears Triple H and beats the crap out of him and Evolution. That's how the show ends, with Eugene cleaning house on the go-home show before SummerSlam. The show literally ends when Eugene's doing this. I think the last thing you see is that Eugene hitting Ric Flair for Stone Cold Stunner. And the show just ends there. It's brilliant. But yeah, that's how you set up a match. And then SummerSlam 2004, August 15th happens. At SummerSlam, Triple H beats Eugene in a pretty meh match. I guess Hunter disposes of Eugene in 1406 after a bit of hoo-ha on the outside of the ring, and that's that really. That's it. And then, after that, Eugene doesn't really do much. Of note, he pretty much cooled off right after SummerSlam. Later, he would go on to feud with his uncle Eric Bischoff, leading to a hair versus hair match at Taboo Tuesday, where Eric got his head shaved. He'd win the tag team titles of William Regal on the November 15th, 2004 edition of Raw, beating La Resistance, but would soon have to give them up after legitimately rupturing his left patellar ligament at January at New Year's Revolution 2005. He landed wrong after a dropkick, and he went down immediately clutching his leg. But to his credit, if I remember right, he actually finishes the match. He's on one leg trying to I forget who he's fighting at the time, but he basically rolled somebody up while having a leg which is bent because he's snapped a ligament basically. But he's done a good job, so he's a tough lad, or Eugene. Yeah. But yeah, he would return that July to a feud with Kurt Angle, leading to him fighting Kurt at SummerSlam for his Olympic gold medals, and Kurt Angle literally beat the fuck out of him. Have you seen this match, Kurt Angle versus Eugene?
No, I'll be honest with you, dude. The number of Eugene matches I've seen is disappointingly low.
You need to watch the first 30 seconds of this match. Kurt Angle, I genuinely think he shoots on Eugene almost here. He smacks him so hard at the start of the match, just fucking decks him, and like has him in the mat. He's beating the shit out of him. It's so weird to see. Somebody pissed Kurt off that night or something. I don't know, but it was so like snug and stiff with Eugene in the match. It's awful, but also awesome because fucking love Kurt Angle. But that was his last big deal in WWE. He'd soon get caught by WWE's drug policy after passing out in a hotel lobby in Manchester, admitting to taking prescription drugs, including Soma, which is the muscle relaxer commonly used by many wrestlers to help alleviate aches and pains. And that was pretty much it for Eugene. But what if things were different? What if there was a way to salvage Nick Dinsmore's career and not have him defined by his run as Eugene for the rest of his career? Shall we make some kayfabe, my friend?
I like it. So where is your storyline going to pick up from?
My storyline happens from... So let me tell you. So in my version of events, Eugene is still a thing. So it happens. It's a character which had its flaws, but it was hugely over with WWE fans, and I genuinely believe if it was kept brief, it could have had a much brighter legacy in wrestling than the gimmick that basically fucked Nick Dinsmore over. But my version of events go back to the July 12th episode of Raw. So remember when I was saying that Eugene got the fuck kicked out of him by Evolution?
Yes.
So that's where we begin. So here's exactly how you make success out of this storyline, in my opinion. And so here we go. So July 12th episode of Raw. So everything that happened in July 12th episode of Raw, it still happens. So Eugene still gets the fuck beaten out of him by Evolution. He's left in a bloody pulp. He's decimated. He's destroyed. He's eliminated. Chris Benoit is sad. William Regal is crying, being the most underutilized on-screen talent in the history of pro wrestling, like he usually does. Whatever. So, however, there's one monumental difference coming out of this segment, and that is that this is the last we ever see of Eugene in a WWE ring. This is Eugene's farewell to WWE. The character ends there. So Eugene debuted on the 5th of April, so this gives the character a good run of 11 weeks in the main roster. It's long enough to establish the character in a sympathetic light, long enough for the fans to know who he is, but also not long enough for people to get bored of him and not give a shit when Kurt Angle kicks the fuck out of him a year later. The last thing we see is Eugene busted open, unconscious. You got the paramedics attending to him, stretching him out of the arena, and the fans are chanting Eugene, Eugene, Eugene. They love him. Next week on Raw, July 19th, Triple H opens the show and cuts his promo. So he's still doing the same promo. He's bragging about how he took advantage of Eugene to be on his side, and then beat the crap out of him when he didn't need him any longer. He plays the video clips of Eugene being stretchered and William Regal in floods of tears. Great, do that. Get a bag of sympathy for the character and the people connected with him. It will serve us well later. Eric Bischoff comes out and announces that after speaking to his sister, Eugene's mother, of course, he confirms that his nephew Eugene will never appear in the WWE ever again. So this actually happened, of course. This is what Eric Bischoff announced in the actual July 19th episode of Raw. So, yeah, the crowd booed. They were looking forward to seeing Eugene getting his revenge on Triple H. The two heels stand in the ring, smirking at the news. Triple H has officially ended the career of fan favourite Eugene. What a bastard. So, by the by, we have, including this episode of Raw, we're left with 4 weeks until SummerSlam. So this is where things start to get quite interesting. So later in the show, it's announced that Triple H will be fighting Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship, and it's still going to be a 60-minute Iron Man match, just like real life. Triple H, to my knowledge, at this stage has never ever wrestled in a 60-minute Iron Man match at this stage, and has had, I'd put money on this, 0 matches which lasted as long as an hour, so that he's been a major part in. So what does he do? How can he prepare for an Iron Man match with only a week's notice? Well, he seeks advice from the person who has wrestled plenty of 60-minute Iron Man matches in his time, his best friend and Evolution stablemate, Ric Flair. So after he cuts his promo, he heads to the Evolution locker room. And to his abject shock and horror, he finds Ric Flair bloodied, beaten, and battered on the floor. There's nobody else in the locker room, of course. Flair is all on his own and completely unconscious. The person who did attack Flair has fled the scene. Triple H calls for help before tending to his friend. He's slapping him in the face, trying to get him to come to. So Flair is lying on his front. So Triple H flips him onto his back, and upon doing so, finds an envelope attached to the front of Ric Flair's chest, and the letter has 3 letters on it. Triple H. It's addressed to Triple H himself. Triple H opens the letter and finds a note inside. He holds it up, and the camera gets a good look at it. And the note reads, "Simply, you've made a huge mistake, Paul."
Ooh, using his real name.
Yeah, using his real name. So that's it. Nothing else. Freaky. You know, who is it? Who could it be? What's going on?
Because let's be honest here. Triple H, at that point in his career, has probably amassed plenty of enemies.
Oh yeah, it's several. At this stage, there's probably 1 or 2 people.
Could be anybody.
Exactly, could be anybody. So we move on to the July 26th edition of Raw. So it's revealed that Ric Flair didn't see who attacked him last week because he was attacked from behind with a steel chair. Ric Flair is still in hospital due to the intense beatdown he suffered, so he can't make it to the arena this week. So Evolution are without Flair. So Triple H is seen throughout the night talking to Rick on the phone, making sure he's all right, and constantly asking if he's noticed anything about his attacker. Obviously, he's curious as to who would do such a thing, but Flair knows nothing. The game has other things on his mind anyway. Evolution have a match scheduled later in the night. It's Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista against, let's say, Benoit, Edge, and Shelton Benjamin. So we get to the main event. Chris Benoit, Edge, and Shelton Benjamin come out ready to fight, and then Triple H comes out, and then Batista is with him. But where's Orton?
He's probably right behind him.
He's not right behind him. That's the thing. So Orton doesn't appear. He's
Get out of town.
Right? Get out of town. He's nowhere. He's not there. He's not anywhere. So Triple H and Batista, they're forced the rest of the match as a handicap match, similar to the July 5th Raw, where Triple H was on the advantageous side of a handicap match. So all the while, Triple H and Batista are looking towards the ramp, expecting Orton to run down and save them. You know, maybe he slept in, maybe he missed a flight, maybe he's caught in traffic. Who knows? Towards the end of the match, Triple H is about to hit Shelton Benjamin with a pedigree, but as soon as he's about to hit it, footage plays on the big screen of Randy Orton being attacked backstage with a steel chair.
But who's attacking him?
Well, whoever's attacking him has a mask over their face, so it's impossible to work out who it is. So Orton's screaming in pain as he's hit with chair shot after chair shot after chair shot after chair shot. When the beatdown's finished, the masked man, he forces the camera person to point the camera to the arena wall, where a message is spray painted in thick black paint. And the message reads, do you know what the message reads? The message reads, 2 down, 2 to go.
Ooh.
So he then delivers a final stomp to Orton and then flees the scene. This distracts Triple H long enough to be rolled up and beaten by Shelton Benjamin again. This would be the 3rd time that Shelton Benjamin's beaten him in recent weeks. So Triple H is in a hell of a situation now. What can he possibly do to stop this?
He could retire gracefully and go home.
That's it. Call it a career.
Yeah, he's a pretty good run. Now somebody's after him. He could call the police.
That would be the logical thing to do. And most
guys, my name is Triple H. I'm Triple H. Everybody hates me. Please protect me. And they're like, okay.
There we go. But unfortunately, he doesn't call the police. So August 2nd edition of Raw. So now Triple H is terrified. So Flair's been taken out. Orton's been taken out. There's only one stablemate left, and it's Big Dave Batista. So Triple H is going to do everything he can to protect himself, which means protecting Big Dave, because whoever is attacking these Evolution members, well, they're clearly out for him eventually. So he starts getting paranoid. Who's doing this to him? Who could possibly be trying to avenge what Triple H did to Eugene? Who cares that much about him? What kind of diabolical villain would start attacking Evolution members in an effort to fuck with Triple H? So, of course, William Regal, he thinks William Regal's doing all of this. So, fearing for his life, Triple H does not go to the arena that week. He's not live on Raw. Instead, through his inside sources in WWE, so he was married to Stephanie McMahon for less than a year at this stage, which of course came with its perks and benefits. He finds out where William Regal was staying that night while in town for Raw. So much like in how the storyline really happened, Triple H barges into William Regal's locker room, and him and Batista kick 7 shades of shit out of him. Regal, of course, Regal just doesn't get a break. Like, even in Miami, he gets the fuck kicked out of him.
Even when we're changing history, he still gets a shit.
Still, he's a great sympathetic character. Regal, he of course sells it masterfully. Well, Triple H questions him again and again and again. Is it you? Have you been attacking Evolution? Regal denies it. He's still getting beaten down, but he says he lets it slip that he does know who it really is. He knows who's been attacking Evolution, but before Triple H can get an answer out of Regal, Regal is beaten unconscious by a stiff right hand from Batista. So he's unconscious, he can't say.
Batista, you idiot.
But what are you like, Batista? You've done it again.
Every time.
But immediately afterwards, you get a notification sound heard on Triple H's phone, so like a text message sound. So Triple H pulls a phone out from his pocket because he's received a text message. He reads it out, and you know what it says? It says, "That was a very stupid thing to do. I'll make you pay for that at SummerSlam." Again, cliffhanger ending. We still don't know who's done it. We still don't know who's attacked Randy Orton. We don't know who's attacked Ric Flair, and we don't know who's out for Triple H. Basically, who could it be? August 9th Raw, and this is the final Raw before SummerSlam. Throughout the show, we see Triple H talking to random people backstage, with Batista keeping an eye out for potential attackers. So Batista's basically keeping guard of Triple H at the moment, because Triple H is shitting himself, and Batista's also shitting himself because he didn't want to get attacked either. So Triple H is trying to find out who is doing this to him, but he has no luck, and he's getting more and more frustrated as the night goes on. So at the end of the show, Triple H, accompanied by his one remaining stablemate Batista, he comes out and demands to know who is trying to send a message to him. He angrily summons Eugene. He calls out Regal again, because Regal apparently he let slip that he knows who has done it, but Regal's unconscious or basically in the hospital. He blames Benoit. He's blaming literally anyone he can. Anyone he can think of who may be behind this. He's clutching at straws, basically. He's losing his mind. Eventually he says, "Whoever the hell is behind this, I'm going to give you one opportunity to show your face before I find you. If you show your face now, I might even show mercy. Show your damn face." And as he's ranting and raving in the ring, somebody appears in the Titantron. Somebody the fans don't recognise, who they have never seen before. On the Titantron is an old lady who appears to be in her late 50s, like early 60s maybe. Triple H is baffled. Is this the person behind the attacks? Has this woman single-handedly beaten up Ric Flair and Randy Orton? "Who the hell are you?" Triple H asks. The woman smiles, and by the way, I don't know who plays the old woman in this scene. Just hire a fucking actress. She replies to the game. She says, "Triple H, I don't believe we've met. My name is Maureen Dinsmore, and I am the mother of Eugene Dinsmore. Now, don't worry, it's not me who's been attacking Evolution. That would be ridiculous."
Are you sure?
Shocker. That would be ridiculous. I'm just an old lady.
I love that she has to clarify
how ridiculous that would be. I'm being realistic here.
Yeah.
But she says, "I bet you'll be wanting to know who really took out your buddies these past few weeks, huh?" So she says, I wasn't lying when I told my brother that my son Eugene would never appear in a WWE ring again. After what you did to him, Triple H, I realised that maybe being under the care of his Uncle Eric every Monday night probably isn't the best thing for Eugene at this stage of his life. So I apologise to the WWE fans, but I simply cannot allow my son Eugene to wrestle again. As his mother, I have to take care of him. It would be foolish of me to put my boy with special needs in harm's way again." Then there's a pause. Maybe some fans boo. Meanwhile, Triple H he's hanging over the top rope, waiting for it to get to the point to reveal who laid out Ric Flair and Randy Orton. And then Maureen Dinsmore drops the bomb. She says, "But Eugene's brother, Nick, well, he's appearing on Raw right now, and he's not very happy about what you did to his little brother, Triple H." And then here's the payoff. Appearing behind Triple H and Batista is none other than Nick Dinsmore himself.
Bam.
Let me make this clear. Nick Dinsmore, not Eugene. It's absolutely the same person biologically. It's the same person playing the role, but in kayfabe, this is Eugene's very pissed off big brother. Ready to click.
They're like two different characters, two totally different characters.
Exactly. So yeah, he appears in the ring and he's ready to kind of get revenge on Triple H. So he's not got gone is the wacky hairdo that Eugene had. So Nick Dinsmore shaved his head and a much more kind of serious look. He's clean shaven now to set himself further apart from the Eugene character. The white jacket and the blue trunks that Eugene wore are gone. Nick Dinsmore's wearing like jeans and a t-shirt or something. Oh, and he's got a steel chair as well.
Oh, of course.
So
to complete the look, you know.
To complete the look, he's got a steel chair. And as Batista and Triple H turn around, Dinsmore wraps the steel chair around the cranium of Batista. Batista falls to the mat as Dinsmore turns to Triple H. But the fact that Dinsmore went for Batista first gives Triple H the chance to flee. He escapes underneath the bottom rope and he runs from the chaos. So he leaves Batista behind as Nick Dinsmore levels the monster with chair shot after chair shot after chair shot after chair shot, each one harder than the last, and the fans, of course, are going absolutely mental. After the chair's been reduced to a warped mess, Nick Dinsmore points to Triple H, who is watching, in horror on the ramp. The camera zooms into Nick Dinsmore's face. He shouts at Triple H. He shouts, "SummerSlam." And then he launches the destroyed steel chair up the ramp and it lands at Triple H's feet. And the show ends with Nick Dinsmore pacing around the ring, locking eyes with Triple H, the perfect setup to SummerSlam. So then we have it. It's SummerSlam. We have Nick Dinsmore versus Triple H. And the two have a great match, which starts out with Dinsmore basically beating the hell out of Triple H and using his technical abilities to reverse every hold that Triple H tries to apply. Towards the end of the match, Triple H is busted open. He decides that enough is enough, and like a big old heel, he intentionally causes harm to the referee. So let's say it's Earl Hebner for the sake of argument.
It's always Earl Hebner.
Always Earl Hebner. So Earl Hebner standing in the corner of the ring, while Triple H is struggling to keep up with the technical prowess of Nick Dinsmore. Triple H manages to briefly overcome Dinsmore and Irish whips him into the corner, obviously crushing Earl Hebner for a nicely timed ref bump. So, taking advantage of a distracted Nick Dinsmore, who checks on the ref, Triple H pulls him into a pedigree, which will keep him down for the meantime. And then he does the classic Triple H trick. He exits the ring and starts looking under the ring. Seconds later, he pulls out a sledgehammer to thunderous boos from the crowd. He smirks and he's about to slide into the ring with the weapon to use against Nick Dinsmore whilst the referee recovers, but then a hand appears on his shoulder. Triple H turns around, the crowd goes wild. It's William Regal.
I thought you were going to say it was Eugene.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that have been... Because then you're like, well, they really are two different characters. And then the whole crowd are like, shit, dude, we really got worked.
It's Eugene's mother.
She hits Triple H to the chair.
Oh no, you don't. Come back here, Sonny. So Regal's still showing the physical damage inflicted him in the hotel room 2 weeks ago, but despite it all, he's leveling Triple H with hard lefts and rights. Bam, 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 causing Triple H to drop the sledgehammer. He rolls Triple H into the ring where a recovered Nick Dinsmore's waiting. Dinsmore hits Triple H with a picture-perfect bridging German suplex, which was his finisher in OVW, by the way, as the referee counts 1, he counts 2, he counts 3. Nick Dinsmore has avenged his brother Eugene and has pinned one of WWE's biggest stars at the time. One of its biggest stars ever, actually. At one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. So, yeah, Nick Dinsmore pins Triple H. And to be honest, like, Triple H was losing to fucking everyone back then. He was losing to Regal, he was losing to Shelton Benjamin twice. He lost to Eddie Guerrero all in the space of that year. And he still had a lot of his heel heat because he was the leader of the biggest heel faction of the decade. So a loss like this, where there's technically a little help from William Regal, it wouldn't really affect him too much. On top of that, it gives Nick Dinsmore, not Eugene, a great platform to take off from his debut match in WWE. Maybe to keep the fans happy. You can have a little, maybe a pre-recorded clip of Eugene celebrating his brother's win back home in Indiana with his mother. Cut to Eric Bischoff backstage with his head in his hands, really make a whole moment out of this. And that's it, really. So the Eugene character is long gone, and Nick Dinsmore has the opportunity to become, a solid upper mid-carder or even main eventer in WWE for years to come.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I mean, you did a good job of keeping a lot of the story beats from the original Eugene storyline, which was like Triple H and William Regal's involvement. You kind of kept all of that in place, but you also were able to put to bed the Eugene character, which, like we covered, had a short shelf life anyway. So it was a fun way to get Nick Dinsmore into the company, and then get rid of that baggage as soon as you can, and then reintroduce him as Nick Dinsmore. That's clever. I like it.
That's it, because at the end of the day, Eugene did have a limited shelf life, and WWE should have realised this, ages and ages before they never did, really. Because Eugene went on for another year or so under this gimmick, and he just lost all of his heat, and just nobody really cared about him, unfortunately. He had this whole superhero gimmick for a while, and just, I don't know, he wasn't as over as he was. His time passed, basically. His time was up in regards to being his 15 minutes of fame was up. So yeah, and just I think that's a good way to kind of basically save Nick Dinsmore's career, but unfortunately it never happened. He still wrestles these days as Eugene, believe it or not. In 2019, he wrestles as Eugene, but he doesn't have the same character at all. He runs a wrestling company now in South Dakota, I think. I saw, when I was doing my research, I saw a video online of him from earlier this year. I think it's Midwest All Pro Wrestling that he runs. When Eugene, he's cutting a promo on heavyweight champion Rich Maxwell, and he's bleeding from the forehead, and he's talking about how he's gonna find someone to take that title off him, and even if it has to be Eugene himself, and then he'll fire Rich Maxwell. And honestly, during the promo, he's pretty terrifying. I'll need to make sure to post it on our social media so everyone can see it. It makes me think of what Nick Dinsmore could have really been,
Yeah, he could have been something way better than what they gave him,
Yeah, exactly. And that, I think this promo proves it. It's literally from this year, I'm pretty sure. So it's very recent, and he's running the company now. So I think it's interesting how he's kept the Eugene name, but totally dropped the character in the indie scene, because there's nothing like Eugene in WWE, but he's still got the name. So obviously the guy had his fair share of drug problems, which is a shame. But we've
all been there.
We've all been there. But if he restarted his life on the independent scene, he could have made something more of himself. I mean, maybe he could have found his way back to WWE as Nick Dinsmore. I don't know, because at the time you've got TNA, you've got ROH kind of making things happen with people like Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Kevin Steen. I don't know if he was there at that time, but you've got guys like that who, Nick Dinsmore would have fitted in perfectly with Ring of Honor, literally perfectly with Ring of Honor. That was exactly his style of wrestling back then. So yeah, it's just a shame. It's a waste of a career, unfortunately. But
oh well.
But
at least he's got his own school now, so we can teach people.
That's it.
He's like, listen, if you ever sign for a company and some guy comes up to you and is like, we got an idea for your guy, what we're going to do is make you mentally handicapped. You turn him down.
You don't go for it.
You turn them down. Yeah,
exactly. It's a shame. But I mean, he's doing well for himself. Like you said, he's got his own wrestling school now, and he's got his own promotion, and he's putting out some pretty cool stuff. So
yeah, plus, we say this, it's silly. It probably sounds silly to say, but having that kind of exposure on TV, even with a really dumb, stupid gimmick, you can work that, because you get worldwide exposure, and so that's why he keeps the Eugene name, because that's what made him most famous, and that's what he can capitalize off and make money off. So he can take once he's out of the company, he can take that character and tweak it, but still keep that name recognition to keep himself getting booked and stuff like that,
Yeah, totally, I get it, but I don't know. I suppose that makes sense, but I just think having the Eugene name and totally changing the gimmick is people are going to expect to see Eugene, not like a middle-aged guy shouting at somebody while bleeding from the forehead. That's but that's that. I don't know. That's my two cents. I think Nick Dinsmore could have made something of himself from that name in the independent scene. He has a whole story that WWE made him a mentally handicapped character and ruined his career. So his redemption is to now build himself back up as a legitimate technical wrestler, and he could have had awesome matches against like CM Punk and Joe and Bryan Danielson and AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, all these people, and he could have been one of those guys. He could have been one of those guys
Ring
in
of Honor
guys.
Yeah,
and eventually could have ended up in WWE like everyone else did. So. But fortunately, it was not to be.
Not to be.
Not to be. But hey, how about we do Kayfabe Tombola?
Okay.
All right.
I'm so excited.
It's time for Kayfabe Tombola, and 3 episodes in, I think we've got a set of rules we can agree on, right?
Yes.
So I've got 4 names and 4 situations, randomly numbered 1 to 4 and randomly lettered A to D. Dylan here is going to give me a number and a letter, so for example 4D or 2C. I'll let him know what he has chosen. We'll then use the questionable random online storyline generator, which will give Dylan an alternate choice if he doesn't like what the Kayfabe Tombola brings him. Dylan will then have 60 seconds to come up with the best storyline possible with one of the choices he's been given. So he's going to be given 2 choices, one of which he'll choose himself, one of which I'll choose for him from the storyline generator, and he chooses the one that he thinks he can make a good story out of. So, Dylan, do you want to hear the names and situations?
Should I pick first, and then you can tell me what I could have had?
Let's go through the I don't know.
Okay.
We've done this before. I don't know.
Well, this is a way, like, whenever you do it, you go through the choices, and then whenever I do it, I keep them secret till you pick, so we can have like our own different ways of doing it.
All right, fair enough.
Is that fair? So
yeah,
we'll do it your way. Tell me what my choices are.
All right. So in no particular order at all, we have the Gobbledygooker.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H.
Triple A. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Steve Blackman.
Okay.
And Viscera.
Oh, of course. Podcast favorite, Viscera.
And for situations, we have, in no particular order, is given a Pokemon Master gimmick where he has to catch other wrestlers to build the ultimate wrestling stable.
Please give me that one.
Is revealed as the long-lost brother of Ric Flair.
Okay.
Brings back the Spirit Squad to Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
Reveals that it wasn't really Gene Snitsky's fault. It was his.
Oh. Okay.
So, do you want to choose something from there, and I'll see what we have in the question?
Yes, I'm gonna choose from your suggestions. However, for the sake of an argument, let's just hear what the website would have given me.
All right, let's see. So let me
go
onto this site, storyline generator. So yeah, I'm going to find this website. The more I go through it, the more I realize it's got very questionable morals.
Yeah, this seemed like a great idea when we started it, and now we're like, we cannot use a lot of these storylines.
A lot of them, the majority of them, to be honest.
We have to go through them a couple of times before we get one that's even like remotely possible. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I'll find the first storyline I have which doesn't mention horrendous things. So let's look. No, can't use that. Can't use that.
Yeah, a lot of these are funny as heck, but unusable.
No, can't use that.
Yeah, we'll screenshot some of them and put them on the Twitter too.
Yeah, like I think all you have to do is log onto the website to like find out just how awful they fucking are.
They are truly awful.
Yeah. All right, I might start. All these are fucking awful. All right, from the storyline generator, which, and I think this is the last time we're going to use this, to be honest. But I've got Apollo Crews declares undying devotion to John Cena's biggest fan, and no dimes were drawn.
No, you know what? I'm gonna go with you in your picks. Although that was a decent one from that website. Yeah,
had to do a lot of searching for that to not have one that mentions things like murder or
necrophilia.
Necrophilia, so I think we'll retire that website. It was good.
I had a good run. We did the best we could with it.
So right, give me a number, give me a letter.
2A.
2A. All right. Triple H is revealed as the long lost brother of Ric Flair.
Oh shit!
All right, Dylan, you have 60 seconds, and your time starts as soon as I remember to get my phone back up. Long lost brother.
Long lost brother.
Don't forget the long lost part. So Triple H is Ric Flair's long lost brother.
Okay.
And make of that what you will. So your time starts in 3, 2, 1. Go!
All right, so Triple H and Ric Flair are in Evolution. They're best friends, and Ric Flair is like, I'm your mentor. Triple H is like, I fucking love you, buddy. But let's go to the bar. And they go to the bar, and they have a good time, because Ric Flair loves to go to the bar. Next week on Raw, Triple H is like, hey, while you were drinking, I took a little swab of some of your DNA off your glass, and I got test results back. And Ric Flair is like, what test results? And Triple H is like, don't worry about it. But look at this. Points up at the Titantron, and then while Ric Flair's looking at the Titantron, it has like the display of the results, the DNA results, and he turns around to Triple H, and Triple H pulls off his Triple H face to reveal that he's actually an old man, the same age as Ric Flair. And he's like, look, it's me, Carl Flair. It's me all along. And Ric Flair's like, what are you talking about? He's like, your mother had give me up for adoption, but we were actually twins.
10 seconds.
And then Ric Flair's like, oh, cool, you want to go get drunk? And then Carl Flair is like, heck yeah. And then that's the end of Triple H's career, because he goes drinking with Ric Flair.
Ding, ding, ding.
How about that?
Yeah.
Was that good? Was that good?
It's as good as it could have been, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that was really hard to that one was really hard to try and come up with on the fly.
Ric Flair's like, what test results? Triple H is like, don't worry about it. Oh man, that was good. I liked that. So should we end this show? I
think so. I think it's been an action-packed, fantastic, wonderful episode.
It's been pretty damn good, and let's close the book on it. So, plug time. Please follow us at Making Kayfabe on Twitter. We're getting some traction now. We're 3 episodes in. I'm confident we've got something good going here. If you've got any ideas that you'd like to be featured in the show, you can email us at makingkayfabe@gmail.com. Rate us on iTunes and all your favourite podcast apps. Tell all your favourite friends about us. Tweet your Kayfabe Tombola storylines. Let us know if you enjoyed the episode. And most importantly, keep it Kayfabe, my friends.
Heck yeah.
See you later.
Motherfucker.